paper, and I was trying to read my,
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that before about home.
And it never worked on teachers.
can't you see the teeth marks? Reading the Sunday paper was really fun. Okay, so can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Brenner?
Here.
Commissioner Clements? Commissioner Nibbit?
Present.
Commissioner Yu?
Here.
Commissioner Lanker? Commissioner Madrid?
Here.
Commissioner Owens?
Here.
And Commissioner Sweetland.
Here.
So Commissioner Lanker will be just a little bit late, she has a doctor's appointment, so she's gonna be running just a little bit late. And also Commissioner Clemens has resigned at this point, so we now have 2 vacant spots. There's no deadline as far as filling them, but however, if you know that anyone that is interested, they can go onto the city website, under the city clerk website, and apply to be a commissioner, so we have 2 vacant spots.
Kept meaning to call John. Okay, today is the anniversary of the 9/11 attack. And so we will do a pledge of allegiance and then have a moment of silence. And since Commissioner Nevitt was on the East Coast, his wife was a walk away from a mile. And he was traveling to Boston that day. I'll have you do the honors of leading us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, may God bless America.
Yes. Okay. The minutes, we have minutes from the last 2 meetings because in July we didn't have a quorum. And so we need to have both sets of minutes reviewed and approved.
I think we're just waiting July.
Because it said without a quorum, the minutes will be
You're
voted on
right.
in the coming agenda.
Okay, so
So-
since we don't have it on the agenda to approve June minutes, we need to bring those ones back.
Oh, okay. So, has everybody read the July minutes? Are there any additions or corrections? May I have a motion to approve them? Kay moves. Jeff seconds. To approve the minutes. All in favor, raise your right hand.
I have to abstain because I wasn't here.
I wasn't here either, but I read the minutes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, the minutes are approved as read. Okay. Let's see. That's messy stuff here. And we had no public comments. I'm sorry, I kind of skipped over that. All right. So we have on our ceremonial calendar the wonderful people from Oxnard Jocelyn Lawn Bowls Club. And so we'll come over and introduce you.
So I'll go ahead and stand our infamous lawn bowlers. So I'm gonna say a few things and then I'm gonna turn it over to Art before presenting the certificate. But, you know, I was looking back at the history of the Lawn Bowls relationship with the city of Oxnard, and it's been over 32 years at this point that Lawn Bowls has existed in the city of Oxnard. So March of 1986, the city of Oxnard dedicated that land for lawn bowls, and it was through a $40,000 grant from the Jocelyn Foundation that helped bring it aboard. So 32 years, that's been a long history and a long relationship of lawn bowling in our community. My office happens to be right outside, so I get the enjoyment of watching retired individuals play these games Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and having a blast. So it's a little teaser for me as I work. And they don't forget to invite me every single time and rub it in a little bit. But the reason why I wanted to bring this to the commission this month was we just renewed the MOU with the Jocelyn Lawn Bowling Club. So we've reestablished, extended that relationship for another 3 years, and I see it for another 30-some years to happen. You know, as those of us that are working in senior services, the dynamics of serving seniors is ever changing, and currently we look at the baby boomers coming into our programs and staying active and being involved and socializing and staying young. And I really look at Lawn Bowls as one of those programs that keeps our seniors young and vibrant. Our current board, which I'll have Art introduce in just a second, has really taken a step to continue that progress and extend what we're doing in our senior services program and really partner in it. We've done presentations on senior services to the club members. We have talked about numerous collaborations. We had actually one of our team building events, staff team building events out there this past year. So the relationship has always been good and it continues to be. So, but more importantly, I think that, the one thing that I want to say thank you and show a sense of appreciation for is all the extra work. This board has come in and helped keep up that facility, painted the sheds themselves, painted the benches themselves. We've replaced some tables inside. The garden has been pulled up in places, replaced with succulents, hanging plants. It's really made that place become much more vibrant. As community members walk by, they compliment on the improvements and how great it's looking. So I want to say thank you to all of you for doing that. Just recently, I looked out my window and I see them all out there. I might be getting it wrong, but is it the place cards, the number?
The markers.
The markers.
Great markers. Yeah.
The great markers. So the lane numbers, is that what they are? I'm learning. And it's
You gotta
not
come back
round
out.
ball, just so you all know. That's the tricky part. They had a team out there replacing those markers, and it's those little things that keep that facility looking as great as it does. There's a long history with this club and these members, and I truly appreciate all of your efforts that you've brought to senior services and collaborated with us. So I'll turn it over to Art.
Okay, thank you. My name is Art Roberts. I'm the president of the Lawn Bowling Club. With me is Bob Smith. He's been there for 11 years, 12 years?
About 16.
16 years. Short side. Kathy Corona, she's our treasurer. And then another member at large, or actually the vice president, Gloria Brown, and she's been there for quite a few years too. I'm not going to mention it for her. My wife Donna, who's a member at large, and she's part of the committee that's doing the revitalization and the beautification committee. So we appreciate the support we've been getting from the city of Oxnard. They even came out and did a video, and I think the video was then put onto the city website. Since it came up, we have sent that back to Bowls USA, and it's across the entire United States. And you can click on it, and you can view it on Bowls USA, which is a national and international group. So we've got a lot of energy. We're going to continue to have that energy. And
I would welcome any of you to come out and participate. We'll give you some training so you can see what it's like and enjoy it. I mean, it's no good if you just watch it, you gotta do it. So anyway, thanks to Renee and her staff. We really enjoy that good relationship. We want to keep it going.
Oh, great, well, we have a certificate of appreciation to the Oxnard Jocelyn Lawn Bowls Club for providing active programming to the seniors of Oxnard.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I love your plans. I see that, that's the first thing. You know, even though I don't go in, when I pull up and park my car, you know, there's a real presence there, you know, even if nobody's there, you know that it's being active.
You have to compete with the Rose Garden.
It's great.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Some more comments.
Commissioner Madrid wants to make a comment.
I just want to mention that when it was put on this on Facebook, my friend who graduated with me from Oxnard High, Pat Lee, that's her name now, I'm not sure of the last name. But she was real happy. She contacted me and said that her father and I guess Mr. Jocelyn started this. So she was real happy that it's still active. I just wanted to comment on that.
Good. Yeah. Thank you.
I think I'm done. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Renee. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm gonna talk about it.
Let them do the business.
Thanks all. Come on out and bowl with us.
And you call it bowls, you know,
Yeah, they're not balls.
in France, it's boules, and, or is it pentang?
The games vary a little bit though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
it's not, what they do in France is not what we're doing here. But
and then the
it's,
Italians have bocce, but it's all with these little balls, right?
But it's a little tricky rolling those little rascals.
They're
They're not round.
That's the trick.
They're not perfectly round.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, there's weight on one side that makes the bowl move.
Oh,
Well, you come out, you'll be able to see all that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's, oh, we're having a little education here.
Okay.
You a slow learner?
Yeah, I'm a slow learner, yeah. Okay, so we have a presentation from two of our grant recipients, John and Molly from Camarillo Hospice and Livingston Visiting Nurses Association, which used to be two separate entities and now you're one. So would you like to give us your presentation?
Sure. Again, my name is John Macis. I'm the director of Livingston Caregivers. Livingston has different tiers of services, family of services that we offer, if you will. And I'm going to speak to the caregiving side of things. And we've been fortunate and have had a good relationship with the City of Oxnard, and we've been given respite grant monies for some years now. We're very appreciative of that. Seniors are our focus with caregiving, and so we love that the city also gives back to its community of seniors. So we're able to provide a lot of respite care. This past year, in 2017, we were able to help 7 families with the monies that we were given. And just to give you a little backdrop on them individually, one of them was on hospice and passed. And we had 3 others that were actually had suffered major strokes. And we were able to take that's a learning process. If you're familiar with that, someone suffers a stroke, it's quite debilitating. And so a lot of family caregivers struggle with learning how to care for the individual. And they get overwhelmed fairly quickly. It's more than they thought they would ever have to be involved with. So in comes your grant, the grant that you've gifted us, and we're able to go in there and provide trained caregivers to help those individuals and even do some teaching caregivers can teach that individual on how to properly care for their loved one. So that's a little bit of what we do, but I have to say, I wish that we could kind of give you the heartfelt side of it for that individual. We do send out questionnaires to them at the end of service, and they're always so grateful and thankful. And we always let them know up front that this is provided by the city of Oxnard, that they're lucky to be part of a city that views them in that capacity, that they're special to the city. So on behalf of Livingston, we thank you so much for gifting us this, and thank you on behalf of those individuals that we care for. It really meant a lot to them. It's a trying time, and it's nice to go in there. And our caregivers love it as well. Who doesn't like being the hero? So they get to go in there, and these people aren't being charged money, and they get to go in there and provide those services. It's a wonderful thing. So thank you so much from all of us.
Good, thanks, John.
My name is Molly Corbett. I'm the Director of Development for Livingston, and I'm going to speak in regards to the Camarillo hospice programs that were offered here in Oxnard. So we, throughout this past year, we offered group and individual therapy and counseling, grief and bereavement, both in Spanish and English. And classes were offered here in the city specifically and at our offices in Camarillo. We provided non-medical hospice services. So that would be basically like a friendly visitor to a hospice patient and support to the hospice family. And we also provided workshops on such things as how to write an advance directive, diabetes, and joint replacement classes. So all of those services were provided through this wonderful grant. And really, we couldn't provide those services, especially the group and the individual therapy, which is so important and so many people avail themselves of. And there's no time limit on that. It's not you come for 6 weeks and we expect your grief to be finished, but you stay in the program as long as you personally feel necessary, which I think is really wonderful, and that there's never a charge for that. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
You said you offered classes. How many did you offer here, physically here?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't know how many were offered of the group therapy sessions were offered. It's typically, I believe, an 8-week session, and I believe they offered them 3 times, but I can check and report back.
Kind of continuous.
Sure, yeah, yes, yeah.
That's
Right.
Well, great, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And, your service to the people of Oxnard that really need that extra help.
Well, thank you. We're so grateful for the partnership. Absolutely.
Well, good. Well, you're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, but we understand that it's not- probably not of great interest to you. So I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Okay. Now we have, and I've already forgotten your name, Eric Hummel from the Parks and, no, he's from Public Works. And he's going to talk about a forestry grant that the city has received. So you go ahead.
Okay, and good morning, commissioners. My name is Eric Hummel, Public Works Department. And we got a grant from CAL FIRE to do a community forestry project. And so we've been planting trees so far. We've been having community workshops in several different parks to get local neighborhoods and community members' input on what they'd like to see in their park as it relates to trees. And then we've been having a follow-up workshop. We're actually going out to the park and planting the trees with the neighborhood based on trees that they had input in selecting and locations as well. So for example, in South Winds, some of the residents were saying, hey, we'd like some trees around these picnic benches that are kind of just out in the middle without any shade. And so we took that to consideration and we went out there and actually planted the trees with their participation. So we're going to be having a workshop in at Wilson Park Thursday, October 18th. And we can pick a time with you guys if you have input. But we want to have a workshop on that Thursday to kind of get your ideas. We're going to kind of give you an introduction about trees and their role in the community, and then have your input on where you'd like to see trees, and we do like a kind of community mapping or a mapping exercise where you can kind of go around the park, or we have a map for you and you can kind of pick, oh, we need some trees here or there. And I know we planted some fruit trees recently out there with City Corps support, kind of by the community garden at Wilson. So we want to kind of keep those things in mind, and what kind of trees you'd like to see and where you'd like to put them. Since I think Wilson Park is such a good spot for a lot of the senior services here in the community. So that'll be on Thursday, and then after you give us your input and your species that you'd like to see, we'll have a second workshop to actually do the planting, and we want to get your participation in the planting as well, so you can, have some fun working with the City Corps, young people. We'll be out there and help you plant the trees, and you can help us plant the trees. So it'll be a fun day. So that day we're shooting for November 28th. It's a Wednesday after Thanksgiving. So I just want to let you guys know about that. And also you have a question?
Are you gonna do this same presentation to the neighborhood council? The Wilson Neighborhood Council?
Yeah, I looked and I didn't see any upcoming, but we can, since we do have time, if there is one
Because
coming up.
they're very much also interested in what happens.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we did, that's what we did for
They
South
meet
Lake.
monthly.
Yeah. So we'll be looking out for that to be giving a brief presentation to invite them. And also we've been flyering the neighborhood with City Corps' help to have a little flyer about the workshop and inviting residents out. So yeah.
And it has to be trees. Your
Yeah.
grant says it has to be trees.
We also, we were going to be starting a nursery where we're also growing some plants, but we're still waiting on Parks and City Corps to kind of coordinate and get that nursery going. And we're actually shooting to do that nursery at Wilson Park, kind of by the community garden or the community garden area, so that there's a little shade house where community gardeners can be starting some plants that they can be using in their vegetable garden plots. But then we'll also be growing some plants for planting along with the trees. But right now we are just doing trees.
Because we have a rose garden that's very dear to our heart there.
So as far as the rose garden, this is what Eric's mentioning. That pathway, I call it a dog run, because that's what it looks like it could be. But where we get a lot of our homeless sleeping, that's adjacent to the alleyway. That area, so there's that gate that's backed all the way up to the rose garden basically, and there's that whole open section that's useless at this point. So we're gonna take that gate, the plan is to take that gate and move it to the parking lot. And so it will be flushed with the lawn bowls gate on C Street, basically. Then in that area is where a shade house will go. And the City Corps and with Eric's oversight, will be able to go in with our gardeners and help. It's kind of like a greenhouse, and so they can go in and start their plants from seeds in this shade house, and there's gonna be a little like a water system, a drip system in there.
Yeah, so we set up a drip system too, so a little micro sprinklers so that you don't have to go every day if you're just starting your seeds. But it'll be an automatic timer that's watering the seedlings. So it'll be a good thing, I think, to have at any community garden is a little nursery where you can start your own things.
We have the rose garden and there were weeds. Oh, this was about 5 years ago. There were a lot of weeds and I don't know who it was, came in and sprayed weed spray all over and killed a whole bunch of our roses. And
Wow.
so we have absence of roses. Your grant doesn't include roses.
No, yeah, so it's a community forestry project. So the goal is to increase the tree cover in the community and reduce greenhouse gases that are in the atmosphere through the trees.
Will you be educating the current employees, gardeners on what they should be doing and not doing?
If there's questions, yeah, we can help to answer
That would really help the rose garden, if they could get educated.
So that they don't put weed spray on roses.
Yeah,
Yeah, or anything, except what's correct. That would be a nice thing if you could
So
expand your program.
you're looking for volunteers right now to come to the September meeting?
October 18th, yeah.
What time would that be?
That's what, if you guys have any input on what would be a good time, maybe in the morning or,
The director actually, I think would like, it to be around 11, and so it'll be after Zumba, and everybody will already be there,
Oh, good.
the big crowd, so they could,
And can we put it in the newsletter, or
We
not
will.
newsletter,
The
the
calendar.
calendar?
Yeah.
yes, for sure. If that works for you.
okay, yeah, that's fine.
So October 18th at 11 a.m.
Mhm.
That was.
Okay, and then for the November 20th planting on a Wednesday, is there a good time for that or should we wait until?
Let's say 11 for now, I'll just double check and make sure.
Seems like it's good to keep the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Oh, you want to do it now?
let's say 12:30 actually, because it'll take a while to plant some. Sure.
Yeah, you probably would.
So they can have,
3 or 4
our
hours.
Yeah.
seniors can have lunch and then head outside.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
okay.
would be really great is if they could have lunch out there.
Now, this is for November 28th?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the plan.
I don't know if we could brown bag,
Sure.
lunch or I guess, you know, both of us would come. We could have lunch out there. and people can have it. We'll work out those details.
Okay, because we'll probably have City Corps out there too, helping to dig all the holes and so it's not gonna be too much work.
So you're the one, the people that planted those fruit trees.
Yeah, City Corps planted the fruit trees
Yeah.
a couple years ago.
We got
now.
quite a bounty this year.
Oh, good.
And so, but I haven't checked, is the pomegranate tree producing yet?
Not yet. We haven't had it.
I think we ought to plant more. Great, well, thank you, Eric.
Yeah, and then also related to this, we have the Parks and Recreation Master Plan process that we're just beginning and we're organizing our focus groups. And so I wanted to invite 1 or 2 representatives to participate in one of the focus groups to bring a senior's perspective to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So we're going to be having a focus group meeting September 28th.
Why don't we select someone so that someone here is committed to that, who would like,
Yeah, do we have anybody who's,
I mean, that doesn't mean anyone can't come, but I would like to have one person who would go and then report back and.
now that's a Friday, so I'm out. I can't do Fridays. Lourdes, are you interested?
Yes,
You what?
I have commitments on
Oh,
Fridays.
How about you, Alice? Okay.
We can work on changing, we could see if we can swap around the time because we're also having some focus groups on Thursday.
Mhm.
So we could switch the focus groups to
What
have
time
one.
is it on the 28th?
I believe it's at 2 p.m. on
Is
Friday.
anyone available for the 28th at 2 p.m.?
That might be.
Mark?
You know where it's going to be?
Right now, we're anticipating to have it at the Advanced Water Purification Facility in South Oxnard off of Perkins.
Clark, I'll make sure that Eric has your information
Okay.
and contacts you on that one.
At the reclamation plant?
Right, the water purification facility, yeah, that new building off of Perkins.
Where?
The conference room at the AWPF, so it's at the corner of Perkins and Wanimi Road.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's only about a year or so old, isn't it?
No,
Couple
they've
years.
had it there for maybe 5 years now,
Okay.
but we did kind of just really get it working regularly a couple of years ago.
All right.
And then also, in addition to the focus groups, we're going to be having an advisory committee, which is kind of a more focused discussion to get people's input and ideas and have them provide feedback during the whole master plan process. So we're going to be having 5 meetings with an advisory committee. So it's kind of a citizens advisory committee to the master plan. And with that, we have a more limited participation, but we did want to have one person representing senior services in the community. So I wanted to also invite you to to have someone come to that. And that'll be a series of 5 meetings over the next year during the whole master plan process. So making sure that we're identifying questions and needs and concerns of the senior community, and really taking kind of a bigger picture of the whole master plan process and making sure we're including senior perspectives.
Is there anybody who wants to jump on that? You can put my name there.
Okay.
The mouthpiece.
Okay. And so we'll be following up with you when we kind of set up that schedule.
Do you need a card?
I'll send you
Okay.
Wonderful, thank you so
All right,
much.
yeah,
This
thank
is
you.
very exciting.
Yeah.
And you got your contact information?
Renee.
I'll
Can I-
go ahead and share.
Why aren't you wearing a green shirt?
So I'll just give a little history on Eric. He was actually with the recreation department as an extra help staff, right?
Yeah, I was temporary for 7 years.
Yeah. And so he was with us through City Corps and did a lot of great work with City Corps, and then Public Works snatched him away. So it's kind of nice to have that connection with Eric and recreation.
Well, he looks like he should have one of those forestry green jackets.
That's great that you got Grant though.
Yeah.
He brings in a lot of great grants.
You get the Wilson Park to your neighborhood people on it. If nothing else, they'll know someone's working on Wilson Park.
Yeah.
Even if no one volunteers, the fact that you were there and the city is doing something about Wilson Park will make them very happy. So make sure that you're feed in when they meet regularly.
Yeah, I'll check the schedule to
Yeah.
make sure we're at their next meeting.
Just the PR from it will make you very, very important.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And now they keep cutting our funds and then you get these grants.
Yeah, well, even just knowing that there's a grant, and then there's gonna be something done, sometimes that can be just make people like
What is the grant from? From the city?
that.
No, it's, I believe it's a federal grant.
I didn't
State or
understand, he told us, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's a state or federal grant that was brought in. So they're planting trees throughout. I think at that total of 1,000 trees are being planted in the city of Oxford.
You know, it's crazy because they did this whole thing for the water, you know, and you could put in the fake lawn and all this kind of stuff, so you wouldn't be, and now they have a forestry grant to put trees in, to clean the air, you know, which makes more sense than putting in fake sod.
Yeah, because you have to have trees and.
Well, something to keep in mind for those of you that will be representing senior services is one of the locations of a park is the future site, fingers crossed, for the new senior center. So, you know, with this master plan, it's eventually it's going to be implemented, and so just to keep in mind of the voice of using that location for the new senior center. 'Cause it's in a park.
Just a question.
And
He said it would be in the, I'm sorry.
The reclamation,
Right, but at the conference room, they have conference.
you know what, I don't think he mentioned exactly where it will be, but he'll send some information.
Okay, yeah, if I can get the exact address and so forth.
would that, be appropriate to bring that up, I mean, and say, can you hold some trees for a while? Or one of the things that's coming out of the senior, the new senior center is that I hope that there'll be a walkway all the way from the senior center, all over the Boys and Girls Club, around and back down again. And, so
So
that,
this-
then that presents a total community thing, but it also it helps the seniors.
So this grant does have a term limit. I believe it's 3 years, and
Yeah, I forgot
I'm
to ask.
pretty sure we're on year 2 with it. So it won't, the timing's not.
But they could put some trees or something on the anticipation of a walkway that's going, a hiking trail that's going all around,
We can definitely,
suggest.
And the master plan
Well, but this is more than just the
Well,
senior center, because it includes that whole park.
If they're gonna plant trees at that park, they would do a similar focus group, just like they're doing at Wilson. So that would be the appropriate time to have that discussion if they go to that park. So if you, go to the Wilson, one, that would be a good question to ask Eric, are you gonna do one for the Southwest?
It's called Southwest.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay, so, our next agenda item is a report from the commission secretary.
We do not have items at this moment.
All right, so new business, Senior Services Commission grant fund.
So, the Senior Services Commission grant, funding has, so let me give you a little history. In 2014, the city of Oxnard went through some pretty major budget cuts. And the recreation, we were a department back then, took a 23% budget cut. At that time, and senior services is under recreation, at that time, there was no impact to senior services when that 23% budget cut took place. This past fiscal year, going into this fiscal year's budget, the city management had announced that there was a $7 million budget gap. And so it asked all departments, and at this point we're a division, to take a 5% cut. Recreation, which is a division, took a 5% cut. In that, the senior services grant funds were cut. So let me explain to you the process of that. So basically, the recreation budget was cut by 5%. So we took a hit on youth sports. The youth sports program has been trimmed back. We are only accepting a limited amount of teams into our youth sports. The skate park is no longer staffed. The gates are simply open, and it's no longer staffed. The tennis center is no longer staffed. So it's similar to the skate park where staff go. Our youth sports offices are there, so they're present, but there's no longer that club filling of the tennis center, but basically goes, opens up the gates in the morning, on the weekends, and closes them in the evening hours. Senior services needed to take a hit also in this process, and so, we really weighed out where that hit was going to occur. Some of that discussion was, do we close the senior center? And in closing a senior center, that's about a similar amount. If we were to close, say, Palm Vista or South Oxnard, that's about a similar amount as the grant funds, just about off about $6,000 to run the senior center. So it was decided on the management level to cut the, and eventually, I would say, the council level, to cut the senior services grant funds. It is with a lot of hesitation that I break this news to you, but, I've already had two agencies contact me asking when the application is going out. And, while I'm talking, I'm going to pass this up. And so I have personally talked to them. And just if you want to read over this letter, this is a letter that I will send out. And this is representative of both the commission and myself and staff. But I'm closely working with them. And before sending out this letter, I will send out a phone call, place a phone call to these agencies and guide them in the direction of CDBG money. And as you know, CDBG funds are much more plentiful than the 44,000 that the senior commission has been allotted. And the grant writer for Dignity Health, for example, I spoke to her. I have been working one-on-one with her. I'm very familiar with CDBG myself, so I told her, anything you need, writing the grant. I steered her towards the application, that I would provide support for them in that. So that's my plan of attack. If you have any questions on it, any revisions on that letter that will go out, I'm open to all of that. Cuts are never easy. And, when we took about a 30% cut in the past 5 years, we really stretched that 21st set of 23% to make sure the community did not fill it. But when you start talking about 30%, we've stretched our staff thin at this point to make ends meet and widen their load and continue to provide good service. And unfortunately, at this point, it was about closing programs and, closing state parks or not staffing state parks, not staffing tennis centers, and limiting our youth sports programs. We're feeling it. We're feeling it at this point. It's been implemented and we're definitely feeling it. It's a $7 million budget gap, and the unfortunate part is we are being told that this is going to possibly occur in the upcoming fiscal year, this next year also. So, we're doing everything possible on our end as managers within recreation. Our intent is to plan with the state of mind that this next cut won't be felt by the community. We can't keep hammering away at our community and not providing services. So we know this cut, obviously, some tough decisions had to be made, but we're hoping that in planning ahead with this, if we do have to make another 5% of the upcoming fiscal year, that we're planning ahead with that anticipation. So
It's just, I always want positive first. We visited a senior center yesterday, we meeting the people who are planning or the code for the planning. And they have a great program where they use volunteers to help plan the program. Their volunteers staff their places, and that's why on the tennis center, why we need to set up a group of volunteers who can do some manning of that.
So we have staff that are youth sports staff, and we have, I would say there's anywhere from 2 to 4 youth sports staff that work out of that office at this point. So it's not as though our presence isn't there, but prior for that tennis center, they would go in and assist with what the wiring of tennis rackets, and it was more club of feel.
Yeah.
So it's, there's a different feeling. The hours are a little bit more limited. That park is similar to Wilson as far as safety, so we don't want one staff closing up by themselves at night, so we have those concerns. But we're trying as in all angles, but we can definitely mention
Make it a volunteer look like the group we just had, which is all volunteer kind of thing, and set up a club, of volunteers, actually most of it probably parents kind of thing, who want to keep this vibrant, active thing. And if you added a volunteer with a staff person, then it solves lots of problems. And I thought they had clubs for everything, for, and they also had these volunteers who
More
helped.
like the lawn bowls.
Yeah, they had a club that was really related to programming. Another club was called Hospitality, and I think there were 5 different volunteer groups who really helped them, and a lot of the staffing kind of thing, well, it supplemented it, and I thought it was an excellent idea. And I
We
think
definitely
we should
have
do
that
more
within our
clubs.
senior services, so we can,
Yeah.
you know, we have various
Because
students.
if you back up this kind of programming or the problem, this issue with, we can set up a, you know, a volunteer group will, you know, work to keep this one going. And parents might really, parents, I'm assuming you have children, but there's also adults who use the tent, but, who would be willing to.
Mostly adults, yeah.
And, you know, take advantage of that, you know, and set it up.
Well, and it's gonna go in that direction, you know, I
Yeah,
mean,
and there's nothing wrong with
volunteers and it's part of being an active community. We use a lot of volunteers within our own programs and senior services, so any way we can extend, and to be honest with you, our youth programs, our youth sports is run, you know, all of our coaches are volunteers and at both of our Cal and Columbia gyms, all of those coaches are volunteers, so any way we can grow that is a, you know, good suggestion, so I'm definitely doing that.
So what happens to the Colonia Center?
So the Colonia Senior Center, so the Colonia Senior Center, where we're at with that is, so there's a funding issue there that just recently came up. Prior to us leaving Colonia, housing funded part of the program there. In us going to Palm Vista, they have continued to fund part of our program, so they supplement our funding, basically. I recently found out that if we go back to Colonia, because it's under a developer for the first 15 years, housing will not be providing us with any funding. So the project manager has been out on medical leave. I'm told she's supposed to be coming back any day now. And so I'm waiting for that opportunity so we can sit down and have that discussion of how can we get this funding? You know, is it a discussion that we can have with the developer, that the developer supplements that funding? And so that discussion needs to be had. You know, we rely on that supplemental income to support our programs. So it's, you know, I went back in history with staff and basically said, did you have any knowledge of this? And never in the plans has this been mentioned. So it's definitely a new thing that was thrown out of left field. And so it's something that I now need to tackle and figure out.
Because I thought that was supposed to open in October. And what is the plan? To move from Palm Vista if you can work out this wrinkle?
Yeah, that would be the plan.
So you close the,
Well, and so, or have housing fund us entirely at Palm Vista to keep one there and move over to, you know, that's a discussion we need to have.
because then you'd have to have another
And s-
director.
Right, and so we've been working, Deanna and George have really been working diligently to make sure that numbers are tracked on who is it from that housing unit that is using our services? Because I struggle to think that we're just gonna get up and leave when we've taken the past years to build that program. If you walk into Palm Vista now, it is a thriving senior center. And if we were to get up and leave, we're pulling out services and it's going to be an empty room again. And so it's a double-edged sword in many aspects of it. So we're really working to track how many people from that housing unit are actually using our services. And if there is quite a few, then we'll propose to housing, hey, if you want us to stick around, we need funding for it. So
It seems to me that it would be the responsibility of Palm Vista to provide programming for their residents. You know, I mean, it's been wonderful because we have a spot to take the people to Colonia. But, you know, there again, we haven't had, until you were made a permanent supervisor, we haven't had any dedicated employee to help troubleshoot through these. And so all this stuff is falling through the cracks. I'm really, really annoyed. I mean, you know, we have Measure O, they keep asking for more money to run the city, and then they keep running out of it. You know, and it just, who's speaking for the seniors?
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
Can we cut some of the amount that we are giving to the grantees?
So at
I
this
know
point,
you
there's no
mentioned,
funds available for the
but, you know,
grantees.
I have some.
Well, there's no funds available this year. That's what this is.
That was the decision that was made at the
City-
management level.
Well, city council approved that final decision, and, you know, our feet were definitely held to the fire. And city
You know, and
council-
I just read in the paper that the state of California now has a surplus of funds, you know. What happens if the city gets a surplus of funds? What are they gonna do with it?
I think we're,
No, I don't think.
yeah.
They-
I think that's a
every
wishful.
bit of it. Yeah. Well, of course, that's my political stand, and, it's my personal thing, but if I don't, my understanding is the previous city manager put a whole new level of top management in there.
Where do they get the money for it?
Well, that's why we're all, right now, there is no money, because he put between what was senior management reporting to city manager, a whole new level of city managers, and you know what kind of money they get. And that's why we're having no money right now, because there are, I think, 4 to 6 staff people that were new under the previous city manager. And to me, they should be all removed and go back to the old system, and there would be this financial situation.
Well, and, you know, our
That's my-
utility bills have increased because they say it's costing more for, you know, we're just paying, and we're getting less and less and less. So, Renee told me this a couple of months ago, so I've had time to digest it, but, you know, and we have no options, there are no options. But remember,
Yeah, remember at election time to ask these kind of questions.
but we don't elect the city manager, he just gets appointed.
By
Well,
city
no,
council.
By
But city council does, and they approved, well, no, they allowed him, there's no, my understanding is city manager can hire as many people as long as he can squeeze them in his budget. And I think.
So
the
he
city
just-
manager-
I thought our budget is short.
I thought, yeah, I don't know how that happened. To me, I don't know where they found the money.
Oh, you know, now that's all they talked about was the previous administration, the previous city
Well, they
manager
cut back
had
on
Had-
staff.
done, you know, such a poor job of budgeting. And so we're gonna do better, and here we are, we're in worse shape than we were. Yes,
Regarding the Colonial Center, Senior Center, I suggest we talk about Rick Perallo as, you know, complimentary to the problem.
I feel really strongly about the Colonial Center. We promised them, they were promised by people in charge, and they were promised that we'd go back there. And Paul Vista is close enough that they can come to the Wilson Center, or they can go to SOC. I know how hard you work to get that up and going, you know, there was resistance, but those people are living there, they're paying rent, and so I think it's up to Paul Vista to provide the program.
Well, and so let me just put it into perspective of Colonia also, that's not entirely a senior housing unit there. We're sitting at Palm Vista in a senior housing unit. The housing project at Colonia is multi-generational. It's not specifically for seniors. It's low interest rate. So,
But-
you know, and I think that's, in the end, once I get all the answers that I need, that will be something that we all can sit and discuss and really weigh out of, you know, our pros and cons and what's the best for our services.
But, you know, I was there many times when they were running the senior center. It was one of the most vibrant senior centers we had. Very, very active, you know, all the seniors that lived in the Colonia. It was a great meeting place, and I anticipate that it will be again. But we walked away.
Being
didn't have any choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the demolish the building.
They were just doing it.
But I just think that we have to say, you know, this has to happen.
And you're my advocates.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Let me get my
geographically.
answers that I need on my end, and then we'll have a plan of attack.
When do you anticipate setting this out? And
As
the only
soon as
reason
possible.
selfishly, yes, we need capital services.
No, I want to do it immediately.
Okay,
I was,
so
we didn't have a
Just let me
meeting.
know what I'm walking.
Yeah. We didn't have a meeting in August, so it had to wait until September. Our budget didn't get passed until the end of July, or the end of June, and we didn't receive our numbers till the end of July, so I couldn't bring it in July. We were in March and August, so this will be, I will start making phone calls this week, sending out this letter. The commission's good with this letter. I will start sending it out immediately, making those phone calls. And like I said, I will do everything I possibly can to, they provide services in our senior centers. I don't want to break that relationship. And so,
I'm gonna say the challenge is how do we forge these really strong relationships?
And they will, I think that they will
Oh, they're
continue
very
services.
dedicated.
You
well,
know,
and that's why I'm gonna be so supportive of them going for CDBG. And it will be good to go for CDBG because we don't have a lot of senior programs applying for
Right.
CDBG funds, and it will just be another
And
avenue
whose
to,
money that's coming?
it's from the,
And, yeah, do we have any dates, for the CDBG?
that's not until next year.
Well, they award it.
So it's
We have
fiscal
our
years.
meeting,
It's fiscal
like-
years.
Yeah,
It's
but,
March, usually March, April.
yeah, so I thought they start the process because they have 2 or 3 meetings before the,
For grant applications?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm, I'll make sure they have.
because
all
I
of
thought
that.
it started like November.
The applications are usually due February, March, and then, and that's about when they literally do their informational meetings, and then a week or 2 later, the applications are due, so.
I thought it was earlier than that, but anyway, because Ombudsman wanted to apply for CDBG, and she didn't hear when it was going. And so I want to be able to tell her a date so that she can mark it
I
down.
can share that information with you, because that's gonna be something that I'm sharing with all of these agencies, so I can share that.
Yeah,
with you.
so that she can put it on her calendar so that she knows, and these other agencies, so that the deadline won't
I
come
can
and go.
definitely share that with you. CDBG is a little complex when you're an outsider coming into that grant. So I think that's why it's so important that I provide any assistance. I'm not housing, and it's not a grant under myself, but it's gonna be my extension to continue these relationships with the agencies.
But so many of these agencies have a dedicated
Yep,
employee or volunteer
they have a
that
grant
does the
writer.
grants.
Yeah.
So
So,
we're not allowed to apply for that as a entity?
We do apply.
So can we go to CDBG and say maybe
As a
$50,000?
commission?
No, right?
No,
It's only as a-
yes,
Mm.
yes.
and all the focus of CDBG seems to be for the homeless. They just kept throwing money, and what did we get this year, $30,000? Out of
41.6.
how many millions do they get, and the seniors get 30,000?
So that's why it would be good to get a senior, really a senior voice, a senior presence in
And keep in mind, thinking ahead, that when they do these grant reviews, they want somebody from our commission to sit on the grant review. I did it 2 years, Al Clemens did it last year. So if any of you want to spend 3 days, it's painful, it's very painful, believe me. But,
Well, when you put the number of seniors who need the money and how far we can spread it as opposed to the homeless and how many people are there. I mean, I think, and how, how much money you spend on them, where you could take that same $5,000, I'm just taking an example, and we can spread it to lots of seniors
Yeah.
for $5,000, obviously, we need more than that, but
Well, and the agencies, I mean, us alone, we applied for 30,000 just seniors. We have 3 other CDBG grants through recreation, so we have a total of 4 for recreation.
Right.
So we're, through the commission, they might be receiving 2,000, 5,000, but through CDBG, they could apply 30, 40,000, and receive 20,000. So it might be a step in the direction for a little bit more funding for them also.
Yeah, and as Sylvia said in the past, somebody from the city told them they couldn't apply for CDBG. And Renee said, yes, they can, so we had 11 grant recipients.
This year for senior services, 10, 11 applied.
About the homeless, there are a lot of seniors that could be called homeless because they can no longer afford to rent. So they have been forced to move in back with their children or grandchildren.
Or their
Oh, that's a good way to approach it, because they'll be homeless if they don't get these services.
And they are now, and,
Oh, some of them.
and like the housing, the Colonial Projects housing, they were, I don't know if you heard me talk to council one night. They were, told that they could go back, when they were disgraced, but it's not at the same rental rate, especially now it's under the control of the developer. So they can't afford to go back to where they were.
Oh, so they raised it that much more.
Yes.
Yeah, these promises were all
So they
empty.
moved in, like I said, they're considered homeless. You have to move in with the knowledge.
Relatives. They thought it would be a year or so to build these and redo it, and it's been longer than that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
So I've
it's,
got some work to do. I will keep you posted on it,
Okay.
we're not happy.
Yeah.
I thought, how are you gonna tell everybody today? So,
I'm glad that today is come.
Yeah.
So I can,
Get it over with.
exactly, it's been something that has been, on our minds.
when
for
you said there
months.
was no commission secretary report,
You're
I
like,
thought, oh, what are you doing here? All right, so, I felt kind of bad, these people making their presentations.
They're aware of it.
No, they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were aware.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't gonna do that.
It just seems like that our purpose has been kind of
Well, we'll redefine it. We'll redefine it, nothing is beating me down at this point. We'll redefine it.
Okay, so now we have our report on senior services programs and events.
Okay, so, I'm glad that this one is next on the agenda.
Positive.
Mary Sue's out sick, so I'm going to present for her on this, but I have asked Mary Sue and Deanna to present their programming a little bit differently when we come to the commission, so we'll have a PowerPoint and, show some pictures and just be a little bit more prepared when we're coming to the commission to give you all of our little programming updates. But with Mary Sue being out, I'm going to go ahead and mention her items. And as I was thinking about this, it took me back to my teaching days. And, I would get so excited about teaching that I would start dancing around the classroom. And that's how I feel right now. So
The coffee helps, huh?
I believe in that.
So, bad news, like the one I just had to break, is never easy, but we've been touring a whole bunch of senior centers and hearing about all their fantastic services, and we're touring some well-funded senior centers, let's just put it that way. And, yesterday we toured Goble, and we also toured Calabasas. And both have plentiful funds. And I can honestly say that I've heard tons of good things about Global, and they have this cafe concept for senior nutrition that might not work for us, but we can definitely, I mean, I visited the idea, but it wouldn't work. But I'd say that's the one thing they have that I wish would work in our area. Other than that, we're doing everything, if not more, with more heart in the city of Oxnard when we go to these places. They have a lot of funds and they're supported by outside entities and businesses, and it's good to see that our staff are doing good things and we continue to progress. So, and that's really why I wanted to take this approach of bringing some pictures in and when we're presenting to you so you can see the good things that are going on in senior services. So these are Mary Sue's items. So she provides an all bone builders service a few times a year, and basically brings in the bone builders instructors. And on the bottom left, has a presenter come in, provide some sort of educational information that they can take back to their classes to the participants. So that happened August 17th. You can see in the bottom left, the classroom setting.
There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
That whole builder program is just such a great program. It's all over the community.
Right. This is a program that we provide out of our office, and we're going and visiting these other senior centers that have our program.
Volunteering
They
too.
have bone builders, they have RSVP volunteers, they have bone builders classes, they have Tai Chi classes that are coming out of our offices into their cities. So that's, it's pretty awesome to see.
Just a note, put that on our city council presentation.
Yeah, and that RSVP grant does require us to be countywide. So that's why we're out at other communities with these programs. But yeah, it's something to brag about.
They had RSVP up in Thousand Oaks and they discontinued it because they didn't want to do all the
Reporting.
accountability reporting.
Yeah.
And so
They made up their own.
they have their own volunteer
program, but it's not as comprehensive.
Yeah.
as what we're doing.
Yeah.
What Mary Sue is doing.
Yeah, yeah. And then so the top right, those are all new instructors that are, the gentleman leading is one of our core bow builders instructors, and he's the one who leads these instructor trainings. Tai Chi finally has some ground and is running. Mary Sue was a little worried with Tai Chi that it was slow to get started and slow to get instructors and slow to get classes going, but all of a sudden it has kicked into fifth gear, and now we will have 5 classes this fall. 6 including, right, so Mary Sue just went out and met Jeff last week, and we'll have a class out at his clubhouse. Yeah, out at Seabridge, so something on the west end of town.
Yes, I got.
Are you gonna take Tai Chi?
I'm signing up for it.
I am too.
We'll see how that
I'm
goes.
doing my
We
best.
will
Maybe we'll
extend.
get videos for you.
Leisure Village is new, right?
Registration at our-
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the
They
newest
give
one.
me a t-shirt.
That's exciting.
So it's a 12-week program. I'll just remind you, it's a 12-week evidence-based program. So, coming in, there's an assessment. We had a partnership with BC AAA. They were supposed to be going out, doing all the recruiting for instructors, getting us locations. It was really, we were gonna do the paperwork and the training end, but they were supposed to be really the recruitment of instructors, participants, and facilities. That really wasn't happening. So 2 weeks ago, we decided to pull away from BC AAA and take the program on entirely in our office. So there was a lot of holes that were happening, and Mary Sue we were moving in this direction probably about 3 months ago. So Mary Sue was already going full force with it. it didn't hinder our relationship with BC AAA. They saw it as a blessing. They said they didn't have staff to support us in the original agreement. So I think that that's really why we're finally running full steam ahead.
So
So
when somebody calls the phone number, it's your office that they're calling?
yes. It was BC AAA, but it's now our office, yeah.
There's a Tai Chi class also at Bard.
So that's a
It's
different
a
Tai
different-
Chi class.
Also different.
Yes, it's a different type
But you
of
have
Tai
to pay
Chi.
$5.
Yeah, so it's
Every
different
time.
type of Tai Chi program. Than
That's a
this
very
one.
good one.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you
Tai
have to
Chi is
pay-
the new
You
thing.
have to pay $5 every time.
All right. You ready?
So, I'll kind of turn this over to Deanna. Deanna and Mary Sue, I think this is another reason why things are growing is bringing on Deanna. We have another individual that's dedicated to our programming, and her and Mary Sue decided that we're going to bring Active Aging Week, which is a national week of celebration, but they're going to bring it to Wilson. So
Yes. So it's the whole week of September 26th, but we decided to use that date in particular. And it's going to be next door to the Senior Services office, 9:30 to 11:30. And we're going to have people who are active in our senior center. So dance instructors, Tai Chi instructors, kind of there to explain their programs, Zumba as well, to explain their programs. And then, people can kind of use it to see where they would fit in best and, what would work with their schedule. So we're excited to bring that, kind of like our first time, I think, ever participating in this, correct? So we're working on getting all of our instructors to, come out and probably give a few demos as well. I know some people have questions about Tai Chi and that type of thing, so it'd be really great for them to do little demos, bone builders, line dancing instructors, everything. So it's going to be a great week. So make sure to mark your calendars, and if you'd like to participate, you can let us know.
You took some pictures of the line dancing and you put it on the Facebook.
Mhm.
And that was just great. because
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you see the picture?
Yes, yes.
So anytime, while you're mixing it, show it on Facebook.
Yes, absolutely. And this is also posted on Facebook as well for people to see, so they can participate in that.
So this is also Mary Sue. CNCS is the organization that funds RSVP. And so she went and participated basically in a panel. They're talking about rebranding RSVP. Should they keep the current RSVP logo or brand it? But basically, how to sustain RSVP programs. It's gone under the Senior Core program or the AmeriCorps program. So how does RSVP continue as RSVP with the new wave of administration? And so she was able to actually go and participate in this panel discussion, which is a good voice for our community.
Okay. I have a lot up there. Senior Center programming. So we wanted to just kind of show you guys some of our posts recently from our Facebook account. So every month when we get our new calendars out, I make sure to post it not only on Facebook, but Instagram, Nextdoor. There's actually a few people that we also fax it to that live in like senior apartments, that type of thing. We also take it to the Press Courier building, which is right by Palm Vista as well, to get our information out there. I wish it was easier to see some of these. Yeah.
And you have a printout also in your packet.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we celebrated somebody turning 100. So that was a big occasion. She was presented with a certificate from the commission.
That was Alice went out to
Yes.
Among Friends, right?
Yes. And every week we also post the on the far left corner the lunches that we're having that week, so people can kind of get ahead and see, if they want to come in for certain items.
The menu,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Macaroni and cheese, then I think I'll
Right.
We also.
Exactly. We started also attending the farmers market about once a month. Well, SOC already goes, but homeless is also starting to go once a month, and the seniors have really enjoyed going to that and using their coupon. They were very excited this last time for their coupon to use that. Here's George, the director at Home Vista, and he was actually saying goodbye to a Project Ayuda staff that he'd had there for over 2 years. Very well loved, sweet lady. And she actually transferred to Wilson, so now she's over there. So,
They have to change
yes,
locations.
they have to change location. I think 2 years is their top amount of time they can come. So if you see down here on any of our posts, you can see the amount of people that are reached as well. I just want to point that out because, for instance, 94 people saw this, 116 people reached this, were reached with this. 67 for the senior turn 100. So that's always
That's
kind of
encouraging.
good
because-
information.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think if pass it around to your friends when you see it on Facebook, like it.
Share it.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
share it.
Yeah.
Because
Just by liking it, more friends are reached.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because they can see what you like. So continue. Here's the Zumba as well. Zumba is very popular at Wilson. So 150 people were reached for that. And the information on the Zumba classes is on there. And also if they have any questions, it's also listed on there. And if you guys have met Kim, she does a great job with helping to post all of these as well and take pictures. 4 months ago, we started Seniors of Oxnard. So we like to interview 2 seniors a month and post kind of like their background, their story, whatever they like to share with us. And so the beginning of the month and the end of the month, you'll always see a Seniors of Oxnard, and it's somebody from one of our senior centers. So for instance, this I think she participates at Associate. Yes. So she won a volunteer award for Seasoned Citizen Volunteer. I'm trying to read it as
She's
well.
actually been recognized by this commission. She's the volunteer that comes in and brings plants to SOC every week and goodies.
Yes.
And she's very familiar.
Desiree has a
Yeah.
pretty plant in her front, and she always comes and kind of decorates it and updates it. And she'll add in little seasonal flowers or sparkle and that type of thing.
Well, and so something as simple as her coming to the commission to receive that certificate of appreciation, a year and a half out later, I get a phone call from her, and she says, I can't find my certificate. Can you print me a new one?
That's sweet.
Yes.
Sweet.
So we also had flu season's upon us, so we did a flu shot clinic at SOC, and this is actually brought on by Albertsons and Vons Pavilions. They're all the same company now. And I didn't know this till I was like looking at it. 354 people saw this. So that's really amazing for us because I think that's kind of one of our highest ones so far.
And so that's who's paying for the group vaccine.
Yes. Well,
Because
they could
St.
bring their
John's-
insurance card.
Right.
Medical's pay.
Well,
Their insurance, yeah, they're supposed to bring their
Medicare.
insurance card, but we're hosting them at the
but
senior
the service
side,
is being
They're
provided.
providing.
the
Yeah,
pharmacist.
because St. John's was doing that, and then they didn't have a nurse
Yeah, yeah.
to administer
To
the
go.
vaccine.
Is
Yeah.
that every Tuesday? I don't understand the flu vaccine.
It was the beginning of this month at SOC, and I think Wilson had one as well this month. So I think that's just coming out because flu season's coming up, unfortunately. Yeah. I want to touch on the RAD program. I didn't have seniors come to this, but they used the Wilson Center, and I actually got to participate. So Mike Maricostica is with the Oxnard Police Department, and he's been there, I think, 25 years already. So he's the one who puts on the Rape Aggression Defense Program, and it's only for females for the city of Oxnard that he's doing it. And it's a volunteer program that he runs, and it's really amazing. It was very empowering, I want to say. The there's a lot of younger females going off to college, which is a really great time to also learn the techniques that were used. So the first day was, as you can see, that middle picture was a presentation and kind of going over, you know, what you do at your home, how you lock your windows, doors, that type of thing. And we also learned some techniques. And then the next weekend, him and another officer dressed up in full gear and would go and try to attack you on a mat. And you'd have to fend them off, which is really unique because there's not really any programs that are like that. A lot of times you learn things like CPR, but you're not you know, it's not a full stimulation. So this was a really great opportunity for, it was $50. Yeah, but
I took it about 5, 6 years ago, and it's really helped me. And
Right.
there were some moms with the dollars.
yes, yeah, there were some
It
moms
was-
with their
it was really
teens.
awesome. And in
Yes,
fact, I used one of the techniques to teach you to say no.
yeah,
And I used it. I was at a gas station in Alveo, at the Shell station, one afternoon, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "Can you give me some money to buy a burrito?" And I said, "I don't have any money." And that would be nice. So then he said, "Well, all I have is this, and I'm really hungry," and he kept, you know, he'd get aggressive with me, but he just wouldn't go away.
mhm,
So finally I remembered and I turned around and said, "No, I used the credit card," and he ran away.
yeah.
And that's what they teach you, you have
Vocal.
to say no.
Being vocal, they don't
Yeah,
expect
very
you to be vocal and to be loud. So that was a lot of our time was like learning to be loud and very vocal because that also gets other people's attention around you.
It's a really
Gets them to
great
turn their
program.
heads. So, like I said, it's a really great program. And also, if you took it before, you can go to any of his other simulation classes
That's
for
true.
reviews.
I
So it's a
forgot that,
one-time
yeah.
fee. And then after that, even if you move, you can take the program in a different
Mhm.
state because they're statewide.
We shared this, you know, when they were taking enrollment, it was shared on all of our social media, at
Yeah.
our senior centers, on our next door, so it was open to seniors if they were interested.
Yes.
Are you gonna do it again? I'm sorry.
I would really like to. I'd really like to host it as often as we can. You know, it's on the weekend, so it's a little different for me, but I thought it was really important program to have out there for the community, and it was well worth the money. Yeah. So here's just a few pictures. I know a lot of you guys were at this in a summer barbecue. I just wanted to share, and I wanted to thank you guys also for helping obtain our raffle prizes. You know, we had a lot to offer to the seniors, so it was very exciting. Yes, so we had a really great time. Just a few upcoming events. Well, we just had this, sorry. Friday, September 7th, we had the VC AAA Living Within Your Means workshop that was at SOC. It was also offered in Spanish. And according to Desiree, she had, I think, about 15 people show up for that workshop. And they went way over their time because people were really enjoying it and asking a lot of questions. That was really, really great to hear. This Friday, we're having another party at the Palm Vista Senior Center, Mexican Independence Day party. So it's going to be a really great event. And we already have, I think, over 100 tickets sold. So it's also going to be about the same size, I think, as the end of summer barbecue. So we're excited to be hosting it at Palm Vista.
And one thing, let me just interject really quick. So we've talked about having info fairs that are, you know, at our location, but one thing that Deanna has been doing is with the end of summer barbecue, she extended to the agencies if they wanted to have a booth or an info table, they could come. So we had a few.
Yes.
She has invited agencies to the Mexican Independence Day celebration to come and also have info tables. So it's a good time that, you know, we're getting a large draw of seniors instead of advertising it as an info fair. They were advertising it as a fair.
They're already there.
And they're going to be able to get information. So
Yes.
it's a good thing that she's brought on.
And we're also doing, which is new, we're gonna do like a bingo card as well. So if they sign off on so many booths that they've gone to, they can enter into, we'll have a little separate raffle for those individuals. So, Tuesday, September 18th, Press Courier Senior Housing Info Session. So I'm really excited about this because we do have that big, tall, 3-story, 4-story apartment building right next to Palm Vista. George and I are actually going to be able to go from 9 to 11 and talk about our programs and try to get those people to, walk the half a block away to the Palm Vista Senior Center. And if anybody's met George, he's very charismatic. And I think that's going to be good for them to see him and know who to go to if they have questions. So we're excited for that. And it's just going to be kind of open in their main, they have like a main, it looks like a living room. It's a really nice setup. So we're just going to have all of our information and be available to talk to any seniors who come our way. Saturday, September 22nd, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's the VCAAA Fall Prevention Forum, and that's at the Ventura Adult and Continuing Education in Ventura. I think that was added in, so Mary Sue might have added that in for me.
Yeah.
Tuesday, here you go. Tuesday, September 25th is the flu shot clinic at Wilson. So if you're interested in getting your flu shots, there's still time, and bring your insurance card. Thursday, September 27th at 10 is our Palm Vista outing to the farmers market. It's always at the end of the month, and George has a van for anybody who wants to go. So
I think it's really clever to get people out walking.
yes,
We've grown up in a society where we don't walk our
Yes.
neighborhoods.
yeah,
And to get people out, it's just.
yeah, and they really enjoy it. They come back with all their little, fruits and veggies, and it's a good time for them as well.
He took a van load when Alice was out in the
Mhm.
park passing out the snack coupons.
Yes.
So they're able to take advantage of the programs.
Yeah. And lastly, I just wanted to let you guys know October 14th, which is a Sunday, Alma still has room for the Pirates Dinner Theater excursion. So if you know of anybody who'd like to attend that, just let Alma know at the Senior Services office and she could add them to the list. Oh, that's it.
I just have a comment about the bone builders. I was at a barbecue on Labor Day. The hostess told me, "Oh, you ever heard of bone builders?" I started going to bone builders, and the instructor is Linda Murguia. And I said, "Yeah, I know about bone builders." She was so excited, but I think her doctor had recommended that she. So, but it was just real cute because everybody was saying, "Really? Tell me more about it." So I just let her tell all about it.
There you go.
We've got 2 new senior living situations that are being opened up. I think they're, have active seniors in them as well as. Are we approaching those people?
So collection, we have a Tai Chi class in there at collection now. We also had one of our bone builders appreciation lunches there recently, so that partnership has already been established. Press Courier is another senior living
But that
facility.
isn't completely senior living.
Yeah.
It is, because I thought there were still some employed people that were working there. That's what I was told. Some people are still employed that are living there.
Well, I mean, they could be employed, but they could be over the age.
Could be,
Yeah.
And the memory care out on Gonzalez next to World's
That
Gym,
doesn't have.
that Mary Sue has also established a relationship. It looks like we'll have a bone builders class there. So they've all been out and about and partnering with all of these news.
Okay, well, we're getting
Oh,
short
I know.
on time here.
This is, as I told Jeff, this is what happens when you guys leave us for a month. In August. We have so much to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was a busy summer.
It was.
It was a good summer.
So that covered both RSVP and seniors, yeah. Okay, report on the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging. We have our meeting tomorrow.
Right.
And,
What time is it?
Hmm?
What time? 9?
it's at 9 o'clock over, on Town Center Drive. And, I did distribute 310 coupon books for the farmer's market. We got 10 more this year. It's a program through the California Department of Agriculture, I believe. And so it's a book and it has $20 worth of coupons or $5 coupons. And this year we had Among Friends bring 60 of their seniors. So we did run out of coupons.
They're so excited about it, they kept asking me, like the month before, and I didn't know anything about it. When are you,
It's usually every July, and because I was traveling, we didn't do it until the end of July. And it was funny, there was this one lady that came up and she says, "Is this still good?" And she had her coupon book from 2013. I said, "No." And I said, "You need to use it." You know, they have it, I don't know, till the end of December, I think, to use it. But it's a wonderful program for the seniors. And we had a few that didn't get theirs and they were unhappy, but you know, when you run out, you run out. And going back to the senior centers, that Among Friends, I took the 100-year certificate. They do their own programming at that senior center, and they do a really, really good
And
job.
what senior center?
It's called Among Friends. It's the old
It's
Bank
a
of
day
America
care
building.
facility.
Oh, there's that care, yeah.
Yeah. And gosh, they were serving lunch and said when they first opened that they were participating in our lunch program, and then they have their own
Got enough
now.
money.
And this party that they had was quite elaborate for this lady that's 100 years old. So it's interesting, you know, once they get going, and they didn't need us anymore. But
Well,
they,
that's good, isn't it? Because then we have more money for other people.
Spreading services.
Yeah.
but they want the coupons.
They can have them too.
All right, so now the new senior center. Commissioner Brainerd, what do you
Well,
have
go
to
ahead,
tell
Barb.
us?
I've been talking about it all over the meeting. Just a quick, the last 2 months, we've visited 4 different, other senior centers in the community to get some ideas of what we want in our senior center. And I recommend you do that. Like you said, we have almost all the programs going and more. But there was a couple of interests in like the volunteer program. I think that is something we've got to move into our senior center. That will help. But you know, so people, I don't think the average person is really aware, or maybe because I don't show up every day there or something, that there is this volunteer program, and we need your help, you know, and maybe we can get other people to come more by really pushing, you know, and have a specific place. We have this committee, you can sign up for this committee, you know. But I don't know, what else we're just working hard on that, and. you
So I can
know,
give some
up-to-date,
updates. So,
Yeah, on the.
let me just elaborate, because Kay might not be wanting to give credit fully, or take credit, I should say, but, in those 4 sites basically took up 4 different days.
And they're long, hard days, let me tell
For
you.
the ORCA members to, you know, we're traveling out to these senior centers and, meeting with the staff and then heading back home, so I want to say thank you to them for coming on those tracks with us.
That's somebody giving you $1 million, Kay.
So, I've been working with the project manager and the architect to, establish an agreement or get an agreement in place so we can get the conceptual designs, for the new senior center. That will support ORCAs in going out and fundraising. So They're working on their end to get that 501c3 established. You know, I was talking to Allison yesterday, and she mentioned it could take up to a year to get that final stamp of approval for a nonprofit. So they're working on that end. Once that's solidified, conceptual drawings are completed, then the fundraising can start rolling a little bit more. The agreement is sitting in our city attorney's office at this point. Their attorney marked it up completely, and so that will delay things, and we'll have to go back and forth and negotiate. So, you know, I'm hopeful, but I want to say it's probably going to be 3 to 4 months before we get to end result with that agreement, and then, but it's moving, and we're good, and, you know, we have a conceptual drawing or conceptual designs with them this next year. Will be great. There will be some focus meetings that will be had at the senior centers. You'll be involved in that process to give your input on what the new senior center will look like. All of that will be established. A timeline will be shared with you once we have the architect, which is R&T, on board. But they'll be coming out and doing some focus groups meetings, chatting with the commission to say, what do you want in the new senior center? So turn your wheels, and that was the reason why all those visits were important to the new senior centers. That's all I have for the new
Well,
centers.
just pardon me, I have contractors in my house. But anyway, yeah, no, we've been working hard.
Yeah, it's a lot, but just think how much further you are along this year than you were last
Oh,
year.
you bet.
Oh, no, that's a good way to approach it.
That-
Because sometimes we go, well, this thing, you know, it's, in fact, Barbara and I are talking about how overwhelming this can be, because there's so much information that you hadn't even thought about when you start putting this together. And it sometimes it's very overwhelming.
But I think we're doing good without, you know, there's not a whole lot of experience on building new facilities and fundraising and all of that, but this group and staff has really been figuring it out each step of the way.
Yeah.
Okay, now immediate and critical needs of Oxnard senior population. Commissioner Clemens has resigned, so he was one of 3 on that committee.
Is that Alice and myself? And,
So do you have a report?
Well, we presented it the last meeting.
Which I wasn't there.
Right. So I'll give you a quick update. We identified 5 areas, just using my sheet notes: transportation, housing, and food. The first 3 that actually Alice, Al, and myself each tackled one of those. We presented those, but there were only 4 commissioners, Al, and myself. Trying to think who was at the last meeting.
Okay.
Kay was here and maybe Lawrence was at the last meeting. And, so we presented that, and there were 2 more topics. With summer and Alice's schedule, and I was running around myself. We really have to tackle the last 2: caregivers and in-home assistants. And it could be that that's really a combined topic, and it's or it's a super topic with 2 subgroups. So I'll contact Alice and we'll finalize that and we'll re-present. If you guys promise to show up.
Well,
I took it very personally, even when one of my own committee members decided to skip. It was a weird meeting.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Did you not get the memo that we were gonna be out of town?
Yeah, well, I looked on the city website, it wasn't on.
I
So-
guarantee you I was having a better time than you were.
I guarantee you one. So there is a PowerPoint presentation, and I think we presented the 1 or 2 items that really need to be updated, a couple of bullet points. So I can send this through Renee out to everybody, or we can wait another month or so. I'm proud to say next meeting I'm supposed to present capital charities, so I'll be incur the wrath of a grantee that no longer has money.
Yeah.
I'm
You can
assuming.
always tell them it wasn't your decision.
Right, right.
Blame the city.
I'll let you know how that goes. To drive from Camarillo to get beat up.
So what is your pleasure? Do you want to send that out or you want to just make the report at the?
Well, if people are dying to see it that weren't at the meeting, that we're busy, other comments and whatever. That's fine. Or we can wait a month or so. It's your call. I mean, it's.
We got a problem with the Brown Act. Have you said anything? How it told you?
I can send it out, it just can't be discussed.
Right.
But,
And don't
This-
reply
but
to
this
it.
was-
No one replies
so I
to it.
would blind copies it.
And
Right.
then we'd be able to discuss it if you bring it
Yeah,
up.
then
at the
we
next
sure.
meeting.
Yeah, it probably makes sense. to
Yeah.
have it.
So what we could do also is if you provide it to me, at least in the next couple of weeks, you meet and update it. I can include it in the packet, so you'll see it ahead of time prior to the next meeting, and then if you have any questions, you'll be prepared to ask them.
Right, and I don't know Alice's schedule, if you have time. The grandkids are in
We have
school
more,
now.
we have more to discuss.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait for more paper
So,
for my dog.
And I was thinking probably given, I'll let you know if we can have it ready.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Do we have any commissioner comments? Yes.
No.
Rose Garden, at the barbecue, Alice and I were talking, and one of the things that's really sad in the Rose Garden is the lack of roses, bushes. And she and I thought, why couldn't we set up a program, I'm suggesting this for the next agenda. A program where you can buy a rose bush for your friend for a birthday present, or a Christmas present, or anybody. And we set up a memorial kind of program. But we obviously have to set it up and set up a program so that they can send us a check or even do it on Facebook and put it through PayPal and tell them what they're gonna get. And we have a plaque to represent all this kind of people. But it takes a little work to set it up. But I think it would be a great way to, we also have to work with Parks and Rec to get, so that they will, we didn't know what kind of rose bushes and all this kind of thing, but put it on the agenda.
So there's a couple of ways that this can be done, we'll have to work through a few different angles. My suggestion would be that maybe you visit the Parks and Recs Commission meeting and present this idea so that the Parks and Recs Commission, who oversees the Parks Department, is aware of.
Yeah, there's a lot of steps we have to make.
Right, and so they, the parks is really the ones responsible for that rose garden. We've taken over because of the lack of care for it. But they would really be the ones responsible for something like this. So I would encourage, just going to making a public comment at the Parks and Recs Commission, which is the first Wednesday of the month, I believe. Let me just double check.
How many, just to wrap my head around this, how many rose bushes would we need?
Oh,
We
50?
We had mapped it out at one time. I don't know what happened, but we counted they're in sections, and we counted how many, and I don't know if I have the notes on it, but it's a
The
lot.
fourth Wednesday of each month at 5:30.
Fourth Wednesday.
Fourth Wednesday of the month
I'll
at
talk to
5:30.
my friend Gabriel.
Yeah.
He came up to me and asked me about something, and I said, I told him, I think it was Gabriel. So the fourth Wednesday would be the 19th.
Do you think any of our local merchants would donate?
Well, see, that's why I wanted, I wanted to get started and set up a whole program
And that's in city council.
it doesn't have to be seniors, this could be expanded to anybody. But,
Right.
how many times do we have friends who want to get presents, but as seniors, we don't need any more junk in our house.
Right, but if we went, one thing, if we went to Reed Fund.
Yeah.
And said, we have this thing, would you like to donate
So,
some
Well, yeah,
and rose bushes.
yeah, so we collect money for, a dozen rose bushes, and then Green Thumb donates it. Well, they get the recognition, we still get our roses. It's, yeah, there's just so many things we could do with it.
Yeah, and, with the bare root rose season.
Yeah, and wait
Right.
in January or whenever, so it's the best
Okay,
time to
well,
buy.
we'll put that on the agenda and we can discuss it a little.
So think about it, and I just think it's a neat program.
Brilliant idea, okay.
Well, I'm just expanding on the fourth Wednesday, that's the
At
26th.
5:30, council chambers.
Okay, any other comments? Yes,
Yes.
Clark.
We were talking about, that we need 2 new members to our committee. And what I was thinking of, naturally, we need to have better representation for Hispanic, members. As, possibly contacting the Oxnard Chamber of Commerce or the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to see if they have any recommendations of people that might be interested or people to contact us. The other thing would be to talk to some of the managers of the Hispanic radio stations. Not necessarily to broadcast it on their radio, but to give us maybe some ideas of Hispanic individuals in the community that they would feel would be a positive influence for our committee. Because we just need that representation for the number of Hispanics that we have that we're trying to serve.
Well, what about just asking at the centers, is there any Hispanic member at one of the centers?
Absolutely. Well, we can do that, let's say in a very broad brush, but, thinking about the Chamber of Commerce.
Perks of being free donuts.
That's true.
Yeah.
But thinking about the Chamber of Commerce contacts is that they have people that are that have a lot of influence in the community and may know some people that work diligently for the Hispanic population that might be an asset for us.
Okay, good idea.
But where do we go from there, or from here, as far as trying to accomplish that?
So this could possibly be a discussion for the marketing subcommittee.
Oh, we're meeting tomorrow,
Thursday.
Oh, are we?
or Thursday, excuse me.
I'm not gonna be.
And where are you gonna be?
You went on vacation too.
I'm gonna be on the train to Chicago.
You just were in Alaska and now you're going to Chicago?
Right.
Oh my gosh. That's not fair. That's why we don't have more members on the commission, because everybody's so busy.
That's right.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that at the marketing. Okay, anything else? If there's no further business, I would like a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Okay, real quick, the meeting's over, but I'm gonna.
I just clicked end.
That's pretty sneaky.
On Tuesday.